is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 143. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him... He's sitting here, gloomy Austin, Texas today. Stormy Austin, Texas. Actually, as we're recording this, had to delay a little bit. Power outages and loud wind gusts. But none of that is dampening my spirits, at least here on the day after another defeat of the Houston Dynamo. How you feeling, my friend?
Man, it's predictable. You play Houston. If you're an Austin FC fan, you get to enjoy and win versus Houston. So, I mean, man, it had been so long since we had been back there, and being able to be in the atmosphere with all the fans, all the energy, it was just so welcoming. And then to pull out another just gritty, ugly kind of victory. This is just what we do right now. And, I'm feeling great. The party went into the wee hours last night as we were still celebrating the high of victory versus our despised rivals over there. And, I'm just ready to chat about it, ready to look at the, a little more advanced things that went on in that game. Not that there was too much to discuss, but obviously we always pick out the intricacies, the delicacies, all of these things, all of these things to take a look at with a closer eye. So, I'm looking forward to it, ready to get into it. Shout out to some new friends we made. Our buddy Alex, who now seems like a season ticket holder,
I believe is now our section mate there in 123 behind us, which I love because those seats behind us for the first 3 seasons were definitely owned by somebody who did not care and just sold their seats game in, game out. So yeah, shout out to Alex. Also, shout out to Joel, who came up and said what's up to us post-match. That was great to meet him. Also, the Craniolas, right, from Swoon Tower, who caught up with us way after the match. Still, hanging out in Q2, enjoying all the vibes. It was great to see them and catch up a little bit. RB as well. We caught him walking out. And then something I haven't shared with you yet, though, but our friend Jesse sent us a really nice note that I will send to you after we finish recording. But, some good feedback, some kind words, and we appreciate Jesse listening and certainly going to get back to Jesse after we finish recording here, because it is a Thursday. It is late afternoon. So trying to cram all of this in with about 48 hours now until we kick off again at Q2 on Saturday. So try to keep this as condensed as possible. And, that's famous last words when we say we're going to try to speed an episode up a little bit. Before we jump into the Houston recap, a preview of Saturday's match against Sporting KC. Last business day, best keeper in the world, and some nonsense. Just want to remind you, if you have not yet, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It helps us grow the show. And of course, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, you can do the same thing by hitting the subscribe button and helping us there. You can also hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit that thumbs up, like the video, and help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean in the inadequacies of Steve Clark and his rat tail. Houston coming to town last night in the midweek. We knew from the injury report on Tuesday that Ethan Finley was still questionable with that hamstring, and Guilherme Biru, we got some clarity there. Also listed questionable with a hamstring. So I think that's a signal. He wasn't ruled out immediately, at least in a frontward, a public-facing manner. But good that they didn't rule him out for multiple weeks, assessing that injury that he picked up against Dallas last Saturday. So we did see I think the same 11, just with Biru out and John Kolmanich in there. And neither guy ended up active. So the bench was Cleveland, Jimenez, Fodre, Hedges, Feisanen, Wolf, Valencia, and Zardes. What were your thoughts on the injuries and the lineup?
Good news about Guilherme there. Definitely thought that he might be missing some more time. Obviously, we'll get updates as that goes along. I don't know if I expect him to be ready to go on such a short turnaround here with SKC coming to town on Saturday. Lineup, fine with it. I've made my position clear about Owen over Rigoni. Doesn't look like that's how we're moving forward, and I'm totally fine with that. And if we find ways to get Owen onto the field in different positions in different areas, I think that's great. Outside of that, it was good to see Leo get some time here later on in this game. It was a little shaky, but it was good to see him out there for sure. So not too much to dive into there with the lineup and the injuries, but thought we got a good shift at Azani or Kamanic there.
Yeah. And, when it comes to Wolf and Rigoni in that wing position there, obviously, we've, I think, for the time being, admitted defeat on, like you said, Rigoni just being the guy for that spot. And we also have seen over the last 2 matches this week that Owen Wolf is now coming in the midfield, right, for Alex Ring both times. So maybe that's just a factor of the short week. And maybe it's a factor of the coaching staff gaining more and more confidence and trust in CJ Fodre. Because, and we'll talk about it, CJ with his, I believe, largest minutes allocation with the first team in his young career, and certainly an eye-opening substitution, but we'll get there. On the other side, too, when we're headed to the stadium, of course, we check out the Houston 11, and you see Hector Herrera off the bench. So we knew, we're going to see him in that second half and have to deal with it. But it definitely felt like we needed to take advantage of him not being on the pitch. And ultimately, Austin didn't, but still found a way to get all 3 points. Anything else for you before we jump in to the match?
I mean, we were going to look and assess their lineup and try to see how they were approaching this game. You and I talked about how if this wasn't a rivalry game between these two opponents beforehand, that, you could see some heavy rotation on both sides, given the condensed schedule. Now, Houston has another rivalry matchup here with Dallas. Say what you will about Copa Tejas. Even if that wasn't in play, beating your in-state rivals is always a bit extra motivation. It helps coaches when it comes down to job decisions, like if you're able to beat the team that you consistently want to be able to beat in your state. So these are important games. And, I think that both teams were pretty committed to going out there and trying to get 3 points from this match. With Ache, obviously his slow start to the season with his injury, his progressed age at this point, I wasn't too surprised to see that. And then, when you see him come into the game, instantly things change. So we'll get into that.
Yeah, things change on both sides of the ball when that man steps onto the pitch. First minute here, Austin pressuring Houston up high, deep in their own end, off of an early throw down there in the north end. Poor clearance here from Griffin Dorsey that sees Alex Ring pop that ball back towards the scrum to the left of the box. Driussi heads this one down to the feet of Rubio, who lets it bounce once and turns on the ball, unleashes this knuckleball. It's kind of what it looked like to me, that just pings over Steve Clark and off the crossbar. But man, 35 seconds in and that's happening. Oh, we are on Steve's ass down there in the north end.
We were just sitting down as that was happening. And I was just completely shocked when he turned on a dime and in one motion karate kicked this thing. And then it actually had a chance to go in after, because I was all right, that's going way over the net. I was whoa. So it was a good way to start the game, and I hoped that it was going to be of things for things to come there, but not the case for Diego on his birthday. But happy birthday, Diego, nonetheless.
Absolutely. And then second minute, we're going the other way here. Kowalczyk nabs the ball off Kolmanic as Jean had tried to kind of split 2 defenders there in the Austin defensive third, and all of a sudden Houston is right on the doorstep. Aliu pounces on this loose ball and he centers it to Amin Bassi, your boy, who is able to uncork a shot that gets past a sliding Julio Cascante, but then luckily touched out for a corner by Brad Stuver. So near disaster, really on both ends for both teams in the first 2 minutes. And definitely not what I think anybody, teammates and coaches included, wanted to see out of Kolmanic early on here.
Yeah, he definitely struggled to start this game. And, we had that disastrous turnover last week, and it was, something that we've been we can't have this. We're not good enough to have these type of plays. Stu, once again, bailing us out, and just an incredible save.
Yeah, and he was right back on his all-star shit last night. Another clean sheet.
Fantastic.
273 minutes since Houston last scored against Austin FC. You love to see it.
I don't know what to tell you, man. It's predictable.
I can tell you, those guys suck,
bro. They're
terrible.
They had some dudes put in some really rough shifts last night. Bossy was awful.
Yeah,
as usual. Griffin Dorsey, that might have been one of the worst performances I've seen from a professional player in this league in a very long. He was awful.
Yeah. Well, and you know me, sensitive to when our guys get beat up. I thought he maybe should have been ran off if that was officiated the way I had last night, but we will get there. First 15 minutes was very Houston heavy in terms of the possession, but it didn't take long for Austin after that point to even things out. And here in the 20th minute, on this play, Rigoni gets to the byline, crosses from left to right, and stop me if you've heard this before, over everybody. But Austin does stay on the ball here, and they work it back from right to left and back to the feet of Emmy. And this time he drives in a low cross that takes a bounce in the area. And then Alex Ring kind of charging in, gets a touch, redirecting it towards the net. Not a ton of velocity on this shot, on this redirect, but I think he did enough to fake out both the Houston back line and Steve Clark kind of with his hips towards that near post and then opening up last second to deflect it towards that right post. And it pings off that post and back out into the field of play. Austin ultimately not able to capitalize there, but Alex Ring has obviously, we've gone into the stats multiple times here on the pod about how good he has been in terms of the goal creating actions for this team this year. And last night I felt like he was doing an above average or a better than normal job of getting himself into dangerous areas to be a goal scoring threat. I think unfortunately we just kind of get to that point where it's Alex Ring. He's not the best finisher we've ever had on this roster, but I thought he played pretty well overall, which has been, I think, a theme for number 8 throughout this season.
I totally agree. And I really wanted him to get this one because like you said, he is consistently finding himself in the right positions. He is consistently making the right play. You just see the limitations in regard to how he can finish. And this was a really cheeky attempt. And I really wanted him to get this one because he deserves a nice little goal like that. And it was a great attempt. And just how the game goes, off the woodwork there.
It was sneaky, man. I didn't,
he
fooled me too.
Yeah.
Sitting there in the north end. 27th minute. Houston kind of springs back to life here after Austin had controlled really the second 15 minutes. Long ball over the top from Sviatchenko into Amin Bassi, who had gotten in behind the Austin back line. Bassi touches it down to himself inside the box, but then Gallagher came in with some cover, able to stretch, poke that ball up into the air and away from Bassi, but Kowalczyk is charging into the area at the same time. He tries to half volley this offensive rebound, and luckily Stuver makes another strong save that goes out for a corner, and Austin ends up clearing it out. But man, again, Brad Stuver, how many different ways can we say this guy is awesome? I don't know. I'm running out of vocabulary here.
Gonna have to learn some new languages to describe it all. Look, man, when I was doing the preview article for this game and we were chatting about it, we were really looking at which team was going to control possession and or cede possession willingly to the other team so that they can stay compact in their defensive form. Both of these teams struggle to create chances. Both of these teams struggle to score goals. Honestly, I thought neither team really did what they wanted to do from a strategy standpoint in this game. It was the swings were so monumentous in like who had the ball, where they were controlling the ball. You saw a bit of a high press from Austin at times. Houston employed a bit of a high press on us as well. And overall, the possession, while it skewed very favorably to the Orange team in the beginning of the game, like you said, levels out. But the possession was not crisp on either side of the ball. But I do think Houston was probably a bit more crisp than us and what they were trying to do when they actually had the ball. But still, it was not a pretty game, and I think I said it to you last night. It's like, we'll welcome anybody in here to come play an ugly game with us. Like we have found this bit of a niche where it's like we are finding ways to win games with these kind of smash and grab tactics. You see this last night late with the heroics from 10 there. So I was a bit confused, perplexed at what each team was trying to do to one another. And I don't think either team necessarily executed very well.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. We were commenting, though, multiple times, I think, in this first half about some of those midfield combinations that Houston had in possession between Artur, who I think is very underrated from a wide view in terms of just Houston and the league as a whole. But between him and Coco Carrasquilla and Amin Bassi, again, as much shit as we give him, he's not the worst player on the pitch for that Orange team. But then once they got out of kind of that midfield trio and tried to progress it up, either of their wings really, again, like you mentioned, kind of came undone. And that was very similar to how Austin was in this first half. Ultimately, not a lot happening here. In the 30th minute, Julio does pick up a yellow card for a foul that wasn't immediately clear on the broadcast. I think it was from like a previous play or two, because the official stopped play when Houston was pushing the ball up the field, pulled it back a little bit into possession, and he stopped and awarded Julio that yellow card. But I was still a little bit lost today on when that actually happened. But given how physical Julio was and how many times this official had to talk to him, especially on set pieces, we like to say an Austin game doesn't start till the official has to stop things and talk to Julio. I imagine he probably deserved this yellow, but now 2 yellows away from another suspension.
Yeah, at least we have some depth there now in the back, and I understand that he's going to, just the style of his game, and we need a bit of an enforcer out there at times as well. So like that's going to come with the territory. In regard to the officiating, it was bad. This dude lost control of this game, and some very questionable calls. This one, like you said, is just hard to decipher where it happened. But again, I would have to lean towards, Julio probably got you.
Yeah. And I think on the officiating, again, I think it was bad for both ways. I think Houston was on the receiving end of some detrimental calls that maybe weren't correct either. 38th minute here, speaking of Julio, wayward pass here at the back almost allows Kowalczyk in on Stuver, but Danny Pereira able to step in, shield the ball until Brad can scoop it up. But again, I think overall in this first half, and I made this comment to you in the stadium, it felt like to me for the first time in a long time that the guys didn't want to defend. And maybe this play specifically is not the best time to bring it up, but I thought just as a whole, like the willingness was not as evident, just from like, I guess if I'm playing like body language doctor here, but I didn't feel like we had the exact same fire and tenacity and desire when we were kind of in our shell defense back there. And I'm not sure what was up with that. Maybe because we feel like we are 100% the better team in this matchup at home. And I don't know if that had anything to do with kind of, again, a little bit shaky at the back in possession here, which is another thing we have not seen in a while until Seba's back pass last game. So again, I hope this is just a blip and not a trend that's going to develop.
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Again, like you said, they really broke down in the offensive third, and there wasn't too many times where you saw in previous games where it's like Heinzlike's coming blasting in to slide and block a shot, or Julio's doing the same thing. Those attempts really didn't generate themselves. I mean, you look at Aliou, who has been a nightmare all season, has been a very threatening player, and he doesn't even pop up in this game really until this shot later in the second half. So I thought we did a good job neutralizing them. Kowalczyk, a pest, constantly around the ball, physical, so I think it's a fair assessment to say from the body language standpoint that you're bringing up. I think I noticed it as well. Just the willingness to like really be like, okay, I'm putting it all in here. I do want to remove Danny from that because I felt like Pep was on top of his shit last night. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And maybe some of that just comes down to being fatigued, right? This is the first double game week we've had. The majority of other teams have either had, not the majority, but a number of other teams have had CCC matches along the way in this early part of the season, Open Cup, what have you. So maybe it's some of that. And if it is, then that's not a good sign for Saturday when SKC's coming in here after a bye in the midweek. But we'll talk about that later. 39th minute here. Kolmanic actually puts in a decent cross towards the spot here, and it finds the head of Diego Rubio. He redirects that into the ground, but it bounces up and out for a goal kick. And again, man, I mean, Diego is right on the doorstep of getting, putting one in the back of the net again. And I also think there's maybe something to the idea that because he's been on yellow card accumulation warning for a few matches now, that he's taken his show right down a couple notches to try to avoid picking up that 5th yellow. And maybe that's translating to his play and not being able to actually score here. Again, that's just a fan fiction theory there. But I think you certainly notice it with how animated he was to begin the season. And now that he's been on caution, kind of just, again, toning it down a little.
Okay. I think that's fair. A good service by Kolmanic here. I thought this was a great ball coming in with pace. So difficult for Diego to redirect this, but I thought he made a pretty good effort in trying to punch that down into the ground to catch Steve off his line. But yeah, I think I do with Diego. The only thing that's concerning me right now is that his ire has seemed to be directed more so at our guys as of late. There's a couple of plays where he's screaming at our own dudes, and like
he did side-eye Kolmanic earlier in the match,
yes,
like pretty strongly.
And this went back to the Dallas game as well for me, where there's a couple times where he doesn't get the service that he's looking for, and he makes it known that he's not very pleased about that. So hopefully we can start redirecting that anger at the right people.
Yeah, opponents and officials and opposing fans. 42nd minute here. Austin actually plays it pretty well out of the back on this possession, and then a beauty of a ball from Julio over the top into Obrian running behind, and he finds a cutting Driussi at the edge of the 6-yard box, but then he sends it just wide of that near post. And did you see on the replay what he did? I did not see this live on the shot. So Hodder plays the pass into Seba. He like touches it with his left and then like brings his right foot in behind, like almost a Rabona shot, but like not quite. But it was like, I saw this on the replay and I thought of you when he Rabona crossed against Dallas. Like, why is he like this? Oh, so good.
Yeah, that's Fudge texted me and was like, wait till you see the replay of how he actually took this attempt. And I was like, what? And then I saw it and I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, so no stoppage time to end the first half here. And I think I'm fine with that. There just wasn't a ton of things going on there. 46th minute, though, here. Griffin Dorsey goes right through the back of Jean Kolmanic about 8 yards out from the Austin net. Jean definitely beats him to the ball here. And to me, this is what I was hinting at earlier. I thought this should have been a yellow because it was reckless. Like, you got beat to the ball. I understand he's going to make a play on it, but you didn't. You got beat there. And with how violent this collision was, I just thought it warranted a caution. But again, maybe I'm just getting soft in my old age here.
I don't think you are. Look, the impact of that, I think, warranted the card. It was just it was a lot of impact, and it's a dangerous play. Kolmanic, not the largest man in stature, really getting rocked right here. So I definitely could have seen a caution drawn. And like we said, calls went against both teams this entire game with this guy, and he just didn't really have the consistency required. And again, this was as I don't want to say boring, but as lackluster as the performance was there out on the field, it was still a very tense, heated matchup between these opponents. This is two teams that don't like one another. There was some physical play, some jawing and stuff like that. And if you're a referee, I know you're getting prepped beforehand and briefed on the players and who to look out for and all this stuff, but like just the element of the rivalry matchup there, just it adds a little something extra to the recipe that some refs don't make adjustments for. And I think that this was a classic case of that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. 53rd minute here, there is a VAR check for a foul on Austin in the area, on Julio. His elbow is out here, and you never get a good angle on this from the Apple TV replays, which, again, is an issue. Even when it's potentially going against us, we as a league, with all the money that is flowing through here now, should be able to generate better camera angles to see something like this. So I thought from what we could see here, I thought it would have been a really soft call. But if you get a better angle and you can see that there is intent there with Julio putting his elbow into somebody's chest, then yeah, it is a foul. So I think we potentially got a little bit lucky there. Just couldn't really see it.
Yeah. I'm not going to go out of my way to find it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then 56th minute here, we get a sub. CJ Fodre in for Hodder Obrian. I think it's fair to say earlier than any of us were expecting. Certainly some people want CJ to come in that early. And again, I'm fine with it, especially on the double game week. But it still was a little bit surprising that that was the first sub of the game in the 56th minute.
I mean, have we seen a sub all year at that time? If we have, it's been very rare. Like this might have been the earliest sub we've had of the entire season, just to put it into perspective of how kind of like shocking and eye-opening it was to see CJ out there. Not from the standpoint of, oh shit, it's CJ, like we don't want that. Just from the standpoint of like, damn, we really pulled the trigger fast on that one.
Yeah. Well, and again, kid gets out here in a rivalry match, had success against this team a month ago. And we'll talk about CJ more as we go here. 60th minute.
Yeah.
Yellow card here for Griffin Dorsey, who the exact same play, basically. Ball up in the air, Kolmanich beats him to it, and Dorsey just trucks him. And this one, again, both of them look like they really hurt. But again, this is where, again, I'm just coming in saying I thought he should have been cautioned earlier. So, like, either this becomes a red card in that instance, or the guy doesn't go and potentially hurt Kolmanich again because he's on a caution and wouldn't do something like that. So, again, to your point about, I think the official just not being the sharpest last night, I agree. Again, I don't think it affected the outcome of the match, but it was frustrating. And you saw the players get, and coaches, there was at least one yellow card handed out to a bench, the Houston bench. Nobody was happy with this guy last night.
Nope, not me.
62nd minute. Here comes Hector Herrera, Mikhail coming in as well for Blessing and Sviatchenko. And then 66th minute, you get Zardes for Rubio. 68th minute, Zardes played into the box by Danny Pereira. Zardes kind of dribbles here, circles back, taps it out to Emmy on the right, and then Zardes darts right back towards the spot, sprints to the middle of the area. Emmy, I thought here, does well to create space for a cross. 2 cutback dribbles there, losing Griffin Dorsey. And then Zardes gets his head to this cross, diving away from the net. And still being able to redirect this on frame, I think was fairly impressive. And again, like shades of why he was such an elite goal scorer in this league for so long, but not enough velocity on this header to spin it past Clark. And he scoops it up fairly easily. But again, I thought it was a pretty decent piece of skill there to even be able to redirect that one. Watching it on the replay too, again, just going completely away from net. I think it's good to see. Again, I was talking to like 2-3 games ago. It was like, man, if you get Zardes in there, let's try to find his head, because that's like the only thing he really does for us. So I thought it was a positive sign. And again, we're probably going to have to see him again on Saturday at some point. Maybe he even starts. And with Diego still on that accumulation warning, like you might have a Zardes start at some point here in the next couple of weeks. So just keeping him involved, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's always going to find himself getting to the spot to try to find some sort of cross or some sort of header. And you've actually seen throughout the course of this season, obviously we get this goal later. It is a direct result of him mixing it up, getting that big body in there, trying to be active on the ball. So it's a plus for sure. It's just the chances that he's actually going to get are just so limited, because that's the only way that he's really going to be able to score for us, is like if we can find him on a cross, he'd be able to put the ball in the back of the net with his head. So he's just going to have to really make the most of it. And he put in a valiant effort on this one.
Yeah. Off that, or Steve Clark rather, puts it into play. Houston then counters. Bassi finds Coco Carrasquilla at the top of the box, and Coco puts it just wide. There was a couple times, you mentioned, I don't think I had the Aliu shot in the notes here, but he popped the boards down there in the north end as well. And really, like, since Herrera came in back in the 62nd, you really see Austin becoming even more compact in their defensive shape, more willing to cede possession to Houston, make them try to break down Austin on the wings, going out wide rather than through the middle, how they want to. And ultimately, again, it did invite more pressure on that back line. But as we've seen time and time again throughout this season, the defense held up. In the 74th minute, we do get Stuver lobbing an outlet pass to Kolmanich here, and he progresses the ball to around midfield on the left, then plays Alex Ring through behind the Houston back line on the left. He turns on it, fires a shot, unfortunately, right into the belly of Steve Clark. But again, Alex Ring getting into dangerous areas, and he certainly got more on that one than he did his two other chances in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I wanted him to get that goal so bad, because like he's doing the right things. And all you can really say to this is just keep that up, and eventually you'll get one here.
Yep. 77th, you get Leo Väisänen in for Julio Cascante. You also get Hector Jimenez for Kolmanich and Owen in for Alex Ring. Just real quick, because I don't have any notes about Leo here. What were your thoughts overall? Because I think, number one, and I don't remember who I saw say this morning, but I think I agree. The eye test still just doesn't look great. I think even as long as he's been here, with how many injuries he's had and kind of the stop and start nature of his tenure here, I don't really know where I stand on Leo still. Like, I don't feel bad when he's in there, but like you mentioned, it does feel, especially last night at times, just a little bit shaky, which I think is natural for a guy who's had so much time off injured. But what I was saying about who I saw say this, like getting maybe a little bit of a sharper haircut and not looking like you just rolled out of bed all the time would go a little ways in helping that eye test for fans. So any other thoughts on Leo and his performance? Again, just about 20 minutes for him last night.
Just been impossible for him to find rhythm.
Yeah.
Whether it's him in the games, not making the right kind of passes or plays or stuff like that. Wow, that's a super loud car.
We're racing down Riverside. Holy cool smokes. Guys out there.
Dang, Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
Whether it's, just the poor passes out of the back or just the inability to stay healthy and just try to generate some rhythm, he has looked very incredibly shaky, and comes in and has a couple poor passes like almost immediately. And that was the last thing you want to see from a sub in that position, like in that time frame, like where we're at. We're 0-0 here. We've put in such a good shift of work in regard to being able to keep this score level, and to have some shaky plays like that is just tough. I'm going to go ahead and give him more of the benefit of the doubt to get a little bit of this rust off, to be able to get back into his rhythm and hopefully stay healthy, and then, progress to be the player that we expected him to be. But again, I said I didn't want to see Julio and Heinz Ike get broken up when we were talking about the potential of adding Leo back into this mix, particularly in the starting lineup. And, I think that's even more solidified for me now.
Sure. Yeah. At least for the time being.
Right? For the time being, for sure. Yeah. He's going to, again, like we talked about with Emmy, like, when are you going to get your opportunity? How are we going to find those minutes for you in that time for you? And then what are you going to do with those minutes in that time? And he needs to show us what he's going to be able to do with that time, because he's going to get the chances. He's going to be in the starting lineup. He's going to be active if he's healthy. So, like, what's he going to do with that time? And, I'm looking forward to that opportunity for him.
84th minute here. Austin turns it over near midfield, and Houston off on the counter. This is the first time really in the last 10 to 15 minutes that they've been able to work it through the middle of that Austin defense. Herrera finds Bassi cutting to his left, and then Bassi takes a shot that is gobbled up by Stuver. But Houston has been on the front foot again for probably 20 minutes, again, since really Herrera came in, and Austin, again, in the notes here, extremely compact during that time. 86th minute, though, here, ball finds Gyasi Zardes on the left wing in the attacking third, and he turns around his man, who I believe was Ethan Bartlow, and beats him down the line, which is not something we see a ton out of G at this point. And he puts in a cross towards Emmy on that back post. That gets deflected out for a corner. But then that corner, taken by Rigoni, finds the head of Zardes once again, pops kind of dangerously up into the air, but slightly going away from net. So Steve Clark is stuck, glued there to his line. And then, as we've seen time and time again, Sebastian Driussi finds the ball, bangs it home in midair for the lead late on. So obviously that's awesome. All the praise to Sevan. We will continue to talk about him, but on the replay, and I will say this was one of the goals. Sometimes we can see more of the buildup, more of the goings on down in that south end, but there was such a scrum on this play and the nature of how the ball found the back of the net. Dude, I did not know how we scored until the game was over and we pulled up the replay on the phone. We were just going nuts, as was everybody else. But on the replay, man, I thought CJ stood out on this set piece because he starts near Clark, kind of causing some issues there, congestion around the keeper. And then he's the guy that we send to that near post that we've been targeting so often this season. And man, did that kid get up. I think it helps that Hector Herrera is next to him, who I don't know what his vertical is. I'm not sure he can jump over the Buda phone book, but it was impressive athletically. And it was not the only time on the night that I saw CJ get up and challenge for a header and be the guy with the largest vertical out there. Again, I thought very solid night for CJ.
Another very solid night for CJ indeed. And honestly, like given his athletic profile, given his actual size and everything like that, he might be the best option to be the one that flicks on those balls at the near post. And it won't show up in the score sheet. It won't show up in the stat sheet, anything like that. But like, this is the right play to make. It causes this ball to like lose. Some people, I guarantee, lost some vision of it and everything like that. And then we get this goal. And it's pandemonium, and it's just fantastic. And, one thing we sing Sebas praises all the time, and everything that he can do out there on the pitch. But, like, he is an elite, like, offensive rebounding crasher kind of guy. Like, it is a part of his game that I don't think people really talk about. I know that we haven't talked about it too much because, it just doesn't seem like it's something you talk about in this game, like in regard to – because the rarity of a shot coming off the post and coming right back to you. But you saw it in Dallas game where he's almost right there to get that deflection. He's always finding ways where the trajectory of this ball somehow finds him, and the poise, the control to be able to slot that in the back of the net, man. Just another chapter in us, this rivalry where we own these dudes. It's awesome.
Yep. And that's just, it's just the next chapter in the book of Seba here, right? And we talked about how we felt like he owed us one after Saturday, and it takes him 90 minutes to get it back for us. So man, it was great. And I'm with you. I think that's a good point on kind of the innate ability he has to put himself in the right spot at the right time. And that's something that I don't think you can teach, especially when guys are already this age at the professional level. It's either you have that or you don't. And that's one thing that of the many things that separates him from the field at large in this league.
Absolutely. It is an instinctual thing. It is just from playing all the time, understanding how, the ball is going to bounce off trajectory wise and everything like that. It's just great to see. And I'm glad you brought that up about how we thought, he owed us one, and we knew his confidence levels weren't going to be down. That was a 1 in 1,000 mistake that he made there in that Dallas game. And, his confidence, rightfully so, did not dip because that's not who he is. And then to be able to go out there and get another game winner, team of the week, right?
To be honest, I did not see who was on the team of the week today, but he should be. Game-winning goal. They get to put that little Audi goals thing underneath him. That gets you on the team. You get a goal.
Just salute, Captain. Just keep doing it, man.
Absolutely. Brad Smith comes in for Kowalczyk here, and then yellow card to Gallagher in the 90th minute. Siegel on for Dorsey in the first minute of stoppage. 6 were given. Second minute of stoppage here. Emmy plays a long change off a free kick from left to right to the feet of Seba, and he drives hard to his right, unleashes a powerful shot that Clark parries into the south end out for a corner. And Austin plays that corner short, trying to bleed some clock right to Zardes. Houston takes possession back fairly quickly after that, but Seba was feeling it after that, man. He was trying to shut the door. And man, that was, I think, credit to Clark there for that save.
It was just a very limited angle. That was probably the only spot you could really put that on net. And he did as best he could with it. And it was just, it was great to get that corner there. I thought we bled the clock very, very well. We really limited their chances in these stoppage time minutes here after this goal. So just kudos to the boys.
5th minute of stoppage, you do get a yellow card to CJ trying to delay the restart after a foul. So good on you, young man. And then final whistle blows. Did you see on the replay? I did not see this live. I think we were just exchanging high fives in section 123. Ben Olsen, who's boys with, I think, multiple guys on the coaching staff, including Coach Wolf, aggressive high fives after this game instead of like handshakes or fist bumps or whatever. I don't know if you saw that, but I was like, oh my God, like it was very much, if a coach had done that to me, I would be turning around being like, yo, what's your fucking deal, man?
Yeah, no, I did not see that. That's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, to lose 2 games the way they've lost to us this season is frustrating, to say the least. So I can understand him having a bit of frustration, and whatever, man, slap our hands hard, go home.
Ended up with 41% possession for Austin. So once again, a favorable result while losing possession. And that's kind of how things go in this league with the salary cap and all of that. 17 shots to 14 in favor of Houston, 6 on target to 5, also in favor of Houston. Austin had 2 big chances. They missed 1. They did lead 7-5 in terms of corner kicks, 1.49 XG for Austin on FOTMob's model to 1.31 for Houston. And then your expected goals on target, 1.64 for Austin, 1.19 for Houston. And that feels about right to me. And again, I think a little bit of luck on our side that comes from the skill of a guy like Driussi, and you get out of there with 3 points.
Yep. I think all those stats seem pretty fair and accurate in regards to how that game played out. And this team keeps finding ways to win games, man, and keeps finding ways to stack points. And you just got to love it.
Yep. I'm with you. Press conference, Coach Wolf, obviously in good spirits. And he did talk about Seba and kind of his week as it has been. He said Seba obviously had the mistake on Saturday, but nobody was angry with him or anything like that because he's bailed us out so many times. Unfortunately, we weren't able to bail him out on Saturday and tie, but he showed out again, showed why he's one of the best players in this league. And yeah, another big goal and massive moment for him. That's why in those moments we look to him. And I'm grabbing that quote. I know you and I caught the presser when we got home last night. But reading this off Phil West Substack Verde all day, so you can see more quotes from the presser, and obviously Phil adding his own spice to the mix. Also got to talk to John Gallagher, it looked like. So go subscribe to Phil to check out that content. It's always great.
Absolutely. Cool with everything they said there.
So taking a look at the table. Let me pull this up for us real quick. Where are we at? Here we go. Get a zoom or two on this. Austin, through 13 matches played here, sitting on 19 points, a goal differential of +1. Now 16 goals scored and 15 against. So just kind of, again, scratching and clawing our way back to 6th place in this table. You will note, right, that the 3 teams directly below us in the table, all within 3 points or less, have a game in hand. But again, huge 3 points to keep yourself in that mix, to keep the distance between yourself and that wild card line. You got a 6-point buffer there. And if you dare to look upwards, 2 points out of second on May 16th, that exceeds even our expectations, maybe even Primo's. I'm not sure. But, man, feeling great. And again, with a team that is absolutely beatable coming in here on Saturday in Sporting KC, you see them down there in 13th.
Yep. Yeah, dude, I saw Primo after the game. Shout out Primo. I was like, damn, bro, they thought you were crazy. You started laughing. So big shout out to Primo, man. Yeah. This is where you want to find yourself. And it's just, we have the game plan. We have the strategy of what we want to do to accomplish the things that we want to do this season. And we are executing that to a T. It's great. Sitting here in 6th, 19 points. I mean, obviously you might want to see some more goals. I don't care. I want to see the points. I want to see the points. This is who this team is right now. Like, we're going to win ugly games. And like, that's who we have to be, and it's again, the being realistic, staying rooted in reality of this team is uber important. And I think there's something that's been emphasized very appropriately by the coaching staff, by players, even by us at times when we bring that stuff up. So very satisfied. Congrats to the dudes. A great win. Got to put it behind you, though, because you dropped this game to an underperforming SKC team. And, it makes that Houston win that much less special. So quick turnaround. This league is tough. And I think the boys will be ready.
And with that, let's talk a little bit about Sporting KC match preview article going up on the northendpodcast.com here on Thursday evening. All time, Austin with a pretty good track record against SKC. 4 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. All time, and Austin has won all 3 matches against SKC at Q2 Stadium. The home teams won each match. Last year, Sporting KC absolutely rolling Austin 4-1 at their place. I don't know if you remember, we had Cavincho on the pod before that match, and we both predicted victories, and then we're putting out reels of him just celebrating on his little live stream. So Austin did get him back a month later, 2-1 at Q2. And again, Austin undefeated here against SKC in the friendly confines of Q2 Stadium. Once again, this is a team, obviously their trajectory last year has been talked about league-wide from last year leading into the start of this season, and was a big factor in why a lot of people, ourselves included, had them much higher in preseason predictions than they sit right now. Last season, first 10 matches, winless, right? Limping along, looks like a lost season, and then they get a little healthy. Over the final 24 matches of the season, averaged right around 1.7 points per game. So almost a 60-point pace for SKC over the last 2/3 of the 2023 season. They end up squeezing themselves into the playoffs by way of the wild card game, a penalty shootout win over San Jose, and then 8 seed taking on the 1, their new bitter rivals in St. Louis City. And they upset them in that best of 3 series with a 2-0 sweep. And then their kind of Cinderella-ish story was ended by Houston 1-0 in Houston in the conference semis. But coming into this year, again, I think it was 11 of the 17. And now we definitely on this podcast like to shit on some of the MLSsoccer.com pundits and their preseason predictions, particularly when it comes to our favorite team. 11 of those 17 polled had them as a top 4 team in the West. We weren't too far off that. We had Sporting KC 6th in our preseason predictions, but again, sitting here in 13th place out of 14 teams in the West. They do have a game in hand on us, but still just 11 points from their 12 matches, -2 goal differential. This is a team that can absolutely score and compete with the best in this league when healthy, because you're looking at names like Alan Pulido, Willie Agata, Eric Tommy, Daniel Shallowy, Johnny Russell. When you've got those guys in your attack, you've got a ton of offensive firepower when healthy. And then, Fontas and Rosero as the center back pairing, I think is probably average at worst in this league. But last Saturday, they dropped their match to Houston. Eric Tommy was out, birth of a child. Danny Rosero was out, I believe, with a quad injury. He's just expected to be questionable coming into this one. And if Rosero is missing, that would be a big boost to us in terms of the staunchness, if that's a word, of this SKC back line. What do you remember about this SKC team? Because a lot of the same faces back this year.
Oh, man. I mean, that 4-1 massacre was definitely one of the low points of the season last year, and just an incredibly brutal and frustrating game. Pulido always comes up. I love watching him play. He's a really fun player to watch. I don't have too much insight on this team. I don't know if I've caught a single one of their matches. Again, like you mentioned, I expected them to be up there, but like we've seen this team be winless in 11 games and then shoot up the charts. So that is definitely within the realm of their capability. And you talked about the offensive firepower, the weapons that they have there. And those are all above average quality MLS players in this league. I know Agata's been pretty hot. And with the extra rest, that concerns me. that definitely gives me some cause for concern here. They've never won in our stadium. They have, they're going to want to get that off of their back as well. So we're going to have to be ready for this team. They should be hungry because they know that they got to kind of turn this on now. Like you can't be sitting down here for too long. So I will yield more of my time to you, Senator, because this Sporting KC team is, like I mentioned, not a team that I have kept up to date with.
Yeah, well, I don't think we need to spend too much time on it here. Again, Thursday evening podcast. By the time anybody's listening to this, probably less than 48 hours until kickoff. I do have concerns that this team had a bye last night, and they are coming in the much fresher team in terms of that rest and fitness. But again, man, like we have been very, very strong at home. The last time, and I'm going to knock on wood here because it's still a small sample size, but the last time we lost at home was the opener, right? We're 4 wins, 2 draws at home since then. And so, can we continue to try to continue down this path to making this place a fortress, as they say, right? And I think, obviously, I want 3 points here, but I'm fine with a draw. We came into the stadium last night saying we need 4 points out of these 2 games at home, because again, the goal is 2 points at home, 2 points per game at home, 1 point per game on the road. Obviously, a little bit of simple math there. 4 points from these 2 home matches would be just fine in terms of our long-term prospects in the table.
Yeah.
But I also don't think I'm going to walk away from Q2 on Saturday going up against the 13th place team in the conference with anything but a win as a result, making me truly happy. Again, further context to be seen as the game plays out. But this does feel like a game that if we have the ambition to really blow the preseason predictions out of the water, this is a game you win.
That is a very good point. Again, coming off these 2 games versus Dallas and Houston, a lot of emotion wrapped up into that. The way those games played out even raised that level a bit more. So this is a bit of a trap kind of sneaky game here. You see the record of this team. I don't think their record indicates how talented they are. So I like where your head's at. If you want to really propel yourself and be like, okay, this is not, because you still hear the national pundits talking about this team. How are they winning? How are they getting these lucky games that they're just, getting points from and everything like that? You want to put some of that stuff to rest. You have a week like this, a performance like this, where you get 2 wins on short notice versus a good Houston team and a talented yet underperforming Sporting KC team, and you're really feeling good about yourself. So let's go do this thing, boys.
What do you think we see in terms of rotation? I think the guys that should be probably are. I hope they are, maybe is a better turn of phrase, that are locked into this lineup, right? I think Seba, I think Alex Ring for sure, considering we've gotten him out in each of the last 2 games. I think most of the other positions are somewhat up for grabs. Maybe O'Brien for sure, right? He's come out early in the last 2 matches.
Yep.
Center backs, not surprised to see some rotation there either. Not that I want to see that, but I do think we're going to get that lineup graphic on Saturday evening, an hour before kickoff, and we're going to see some names in there that were not in the 11 on Wednesday.
I definitely agree with that. My first thought went to center back, probably getting Julio some rotation, again, with the yellow card stuff as well. So I could definitely see that. I don't know if Leo's ready for a start. I think Matt Hedges might be. Sure. We still have that kind of bullet in the chamber there that we can bust out in emergency times. I think Hot Air, given the rotation, how early he came out yesterday, will still get the start. And then, also the 9. We've been getting Diego some rotation as well, but I want to see him start. I think that G this is going to be who he is now, 15, 20 minutes off the bench every game. So I think that's where my head's at right now, but I would not be surprised to be very wrong about everything I just said.
Well, excited to be back at Soccer Church 2 times in 4 days. Last thing to talk about here, how much is Austin FC winning by on Saturday?
It's just hard to go away from these 1-0 predictions for me. I think that's how we have to win games. I think that's how we want to win games, and allow Bradley Scott Stuber to be our second best player, our second most impactful player, out there every time. So I'm going to go ahead and say 1-0 and close the door on these dudes and get 3 points here.
I like it. I think this one plays a little bit more open, not necessarily because we want it to be that way, but I think the tired legs could catch up to us here a little bit and force us to play that more aggressive offensive style that we have seen work at home to this point of the season when, kind of forced, when our hand is forced by the opponent, maybe getting the first goal, an early goal, what have you. I'm going 2-2 draw here because I do think we get it done and get a result. But I am just, again, a little bit nervous about this rested team coming in against a team that has put a lot of not just physical exertion into these two rivalry matches, but the emotions of those two matches in the same week. I'm a little hesitant here, but 1-0 for E, 2-2 for me, and don't care how you get it done, boys. Just want 3 points. E will close it out here. Number 1, MLS salary dump came this week. They officially published it on Thursday. Little leak happened on Wednesday morning. So we updated all of the roster and salary cap spreadsheets with all of the information we have publicly available to us. And I think what we should do, considering the timing of this episode with the game coming up so quick and us still wanting to get to last business day and the like here, maybe discuss kind of the ramifications, the outcomes of some of those salaries we were wondering about. Some salaries that have actually changed unexpectedly for some guys. Maybe discuss that on Sunday.
I think I'm good with that too.
All right. Well, then let's keep it pushing and check in on
the best keeper in the world.
Damian Las and Louisville City back in action this Saturday. And actually, we've got another ex-Austin FC2 matchup here, taking on Las Vegas Lights and Val Noel, also Coach Dennis Sanchez out there with Vegas. That's 9:30 on Saturday. So, hey, maybe we're turning that on a second screen when we get home from the match on Saturday. And good luck to Damian because he's the one that's still on our team.
Yes, indeed. Val's been balling, though. He's been playing great. I'm pretty sure he leads them in goal contributions and I think goals outright. So he's been playing great. Should be fun to have those guys get together, two dudes who won a championship together, which is always fun.
You are correct, Valentin Noel. 4 goals for Las Vegas, 6 goal contributions on the year, leading that team. Now let's talk last business day and Austin FC2. Really tough result on Sunday evening at at St. Louis City 2, playing in the big stadium and a couple hundred fans there, man. They are really the only other club that I have seen in Next Pro. Of course, we only play the Western Conference teams, to my knowledge. They're the only team I've seen that has a fan base that comes and shows out like we do for these Next Pro matches. So shout out to those fans for being there. They had a little, their little supporters band out there as well. And holy shit, does it start exactly like we saw the first team play out on Saturday. I saw multiple people posting this screenshot. I had sent one to you as well, whereas like the tweet from the team, first minute, we're underway, and then second minute, goal St. Louis. It's exactly like we started against Dallas on Saturday night. But man, I would credit the team for holding up pretty much the rest of the way, the majority of the rest of the way. Credit to the team for generating the goal they did. Sebastian Piñol gets back on the score sheet in the 85th minute to seemingly tie it up and bring home at least 1 point and send us to a penalty shootout. But then in the second minute of stoppage time, a couple unfortunate bounces there. And again, credit to City 2 for doing what they needed to do to get this, last minute winner, second minute of stoppage time. So Austin FC 2 comes home empty-handed, now sitting on still 8 points from their 7 matches, just 7 goals scored, but only 9 conceded through those 7 matches. And we have one of those weekends here where first team, second team aligned, Sporting KC 2 come into the pitch Friday night 8 p.m. kickoff in the Scared Money Don't Make Money Derby, as it were, since last year. Of course, Austin FC 2 sending SKC 2 home in the next pro playoffs last season after SKC 2 selected FC To as their first round opponent. But SKC off to a really strong start this year. They lead the Western Conference in goals scored with 20 from their 9 matches. They have 16 points from those 9 matches and a goal differential of +6. Taking a look at some of their stats, we're going to navigate to SKC2 here. But any other thoughts for you? Like, how are you feeling about this lineup? For me, we had another short bench against City 2 last Sunday. So, like, there's not a ton of options to change this lineup around, unless now that we're coming back home, that allows us to put some of those amateur agreement guys out there. Maybe one of the Garcias shows up. Who knows? Anything for you in terms of a lineup there?
Not much in the lineup. Just some of the difficult ways that this team has dropped points this year is challenging, and it's one way to look at it where it's like, if you can learn from these mistakes and have this kind of wherewithal, you're battle tested, having lost and dropped games in heartbreaking fashions that this team has, then you can rise up to that moment and everything like that. But if you allow it to get on top of you and allow it to be something that think you anticipate it's coming, oh, we're going to give up a goal here late, something along those lines, then it can really consume you and define your entire season. So I hope these guys are approaching this stuff with the right mindset. I do think we need to get healthier, and it's just been in a tumultuous kind of strange start to the season for these guys. And, there's plenty of time here in this season to bounce back, right the ship and everything like that. And I feel confident in their ability to do so.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. In terms of the guys we should be watching from SKC here as we close it out, I think this is the consistency in their roster. Less turnover than a lot of the teams we have seen this year. Cameron Habibullah, maybe remember his name. He's got 7 goals already. Pau Vidal is back there. He's leading them in shots per 90. So again, very aggressive. I think Vidal has not played nearly as much this season. He may be making the benches for the first team. But again, I think just a very, very strong team. Next pro side coming to the pitch on Friday. And man, shout out to anybody that is able to make it out there while also going to these 2 first team matches. This is the one that I think both you and I have to miss, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting out there again. I think our next game is at home as well.
Yeah. Load management.
Yeah. Load management. Well, last thing to do here, right, is how much is Austin FC 2 winning by on Friday night?
Give me 1-0.
All right, it is a weekend.
It's our calling card.
Yeah.
This is a defensive team, like you mentioned, 7 goals. That's not very high powered, high octane offense. So if we're going to win these games, I like the smash and grab tactic.
Yeah. It's a weekend of 1-0s for E, and I'm going to join you here. 1-0 victory as well for Austin FC. Relying on that defense that has been strong. I think we've seen the chemistry between Tony Gomez and Sal Mazzaferro continue to elevate here, right? I think, again, Marcus Alstrup, has been strong after those first 2 matches. I will be looking to see if Shaikh Touré has a better match. I thought he's had better games than what I saw him put out there on the field on Sunday. So just a couple things I'm eyeing there. 1-0 result for both of us. And again, don't care how you get it done, boys. Just bring us home the 3 points. E, real quick on the nonsense to close out this episode. We do have 2 best ball weeks to talk about. And my God, man, these dudes from the Verde Pendant, we shouldn't have invited anybody else to this league because they have now opened up a lead coming off of the weekend. They demolished our records that we had set the previous week. They only stand for 6 days, 70 points on the week for the Verde Pendant. They scored over 100 total on their roster.
Wow.
They opened up a 37-point lead on Verde all day and Phil West. Phil had 37 points. That was tied with Texas Ring of Fire for lowest on the week. We actually came in second, but still 22 points behind the Verde Pendant with 48. We are Austin 47, Moon Tower with 40. And then today, again, we had a full game week in the midweek, so we have a scoring period here. We are Austin TV takes it down in the midweek with 51 points. We were second once again with an identical 48 to the weekend. So maybe our team finding a little bit of consistency here after being so dog shit to start the year. Verde Pendant in third with 47, then 39 to Verde All Day, 38 to Texas Ring of Fire, 32 to Moon Tower. And with We Are Austin TV back-to-back strong weeks, they have closed the gap on Moon Tower for third. Moon Tower leads We Are Austin by just a single point now. The Verde Pendant extends their lead over the field. They are the first team to 600 total points here in week 13. And we have opened up a 13-point lead on RB and our buddies at Texas Ring of Fire for the Spoon. So again, we hope that is a trend that continues.
Indeed. We'll take that.
And then, you know what else we will take? The best betting week of the year, E. And I'm going to pat myself on the back here because go 4 for 4 in terms of the straight up picks with Austin, of course, coming through for us at plus 155. We had Columbus plus 110 to beat Montreal. That comes through. Red Bulls plus 215 on the road. Nashville to win and over 1.5 in that game. And then goal scorers, we pick up goals from Diego Rossi plus 240, Sebastian Driussi plus 225, Amal Pellegrino plus 260, and teammate Hernan Lopez plus 400. We go plus 8.5 units on the week. That puts us to plus 5.72 units on the season. Flying high.
Get with us. Come on.
Yeah. Tail if you dare. And again, it's a Thursday. It's a work day. We're sitting here in the late afternoon, early evening. Haven't had a ton of time to look at the offerings for week 14, but I know we're going to look to go back to Austin at home at plus money just for the vibes. Sebat to score at plus 190. I know you had your eye on the Galaxy out there on the road still, but visiting Charlotte, who is definitely struggling along with even the health of their DPs. So plus 195 there. And then we were also discussing Columbus on the road at Chicago. Chicago has been atrocious over the last 5 matches. Columbus plus 125 on the road. They rested Cucho last night. So if you get Cucho back on Saturday, full go against the Chicago team, plus 125 feels pretty good.
Yeah, it's hard to keep that man down. That's for sure.
Anything else for you before we get out of here on episode 143?
No, sir. Rest up, y'all. See you Saturday. Can't wait for it.
Yep. I'm with you. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. We will do the same, and we will see you back here on Sunday to recap Austin FC's matchup against Sporting KC, FCito's matchup against Sporting KC 2, talking about the nonsense. We'll have some talk about the salary dump from the midweek as well. That will be, I'm sure, a lengthy segment on Sunday's episode. And again, we will see you all back here then. Until Sunday, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.